Welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a stand that'll display your suit, your armor, whatever you're building. Display it like this in a natural looking way for decently cheap. To start off, you're going to need some base materials. So this will range on depending on what you're building. For example, if you're building a really heavy suit of armor, like I had somebody DM me who was making something out of steel, you'll probably want thicker piping. So for example, this is a 1/2-inch PVC pipe. This is for my other 3D printed suit. Weight-wise, it'll hold it just fine. And that is also thanks to these awesome little MakerPipe PVC fittings. And I'll go over that in just a second. But you really want to consider what you're putting on this stand and how much weight it's going to take. So something like this, I actually used 3/4 on this for no particular reason, just because it was what I had on hand. Obviously the foam doesn't weigh much, so it's not going to be a problem. But if you're looking at something like steel, for example, you'll probably want to go 3/4 to maybe an inch thick pipe, maybe even metal. Couldn't hurt. Let me talk about MakerPipe for a second. MakerPipe is this awesome company that specifically makes these pipes for builders like us. So armor stands, shelving, trucks, like whatever you're making, like go-karts, whatever you're making, it can be used for that. They're very versatile. And so they actually sent me some little 3D printed pipes that I could make a little armor stand out of, so they could send me the right fittings. Basically the way these work is that you have these fittings that you basically bolt together around the pipe. So the pipe goes in here and they just clamp around this pipe. I didn't have any metal pipe on hand when I built this, so I still use these, but I had to wrap my piping with some like electrical tape just to keep the tension. Still works great though, still super strong. And the great part about this is that these shoulder pieces, I can actually loosen this and like adjust the arm angle. So they're super cool, super handy. I have the silver one, but they also come in a black finish as well. Check them out. And also huge thank you to them again for sending me this stuff. Just, yeah, awesome. So that's an option. That's one way you can approach this. It's not required, but if you want something a little sturdy, a little more custom too, you can check them out. For something like this though, it's a lot cheaper. You run to Home Depot, you get some PVC pipe fittings. Basically all you're gonna need is these T connectors and these 90-degree angle connectors. Make sure you get the right size because this one's actually threaded on the inside and I can't fit pipes into that. So it's basically just, you have the T connectors on the sides right here, T connector here, T connector up at the top on the shoulders, and then T connector where the neck goes. And then these are where the 90-degree angle pieces go, where the arms connect. And you're gonna get something like this. So my word of advice is to start from the ground up. Measure the length of your armor legs and build like a hip piece. Like see how this lines up pretty nicely with my hip right here. You're gonna want this piece to be snug on your suit because this is gonna, if your suit is like mine, this holds up the legs. If this is sagging, the entire suit's gonna sag. So you're gonna want this to be somewhat tight to your armor. And another feature in this hip piece is this little back piece right here. This is you connect it with a T connector to this middle piece. You'll have to cut this pipe in half and attach a T connector here and then a piece of pipe here. And so this piece basically holds up the suit. So this piece rests against the wall right here. And granted, this stand is a work in progress, so it doesn't balance very well. But you get the idea, it stands against the wall. So this is a really awesome way to hide the stand. You won't see the stand from the front, as you can tell right here. Can't see it. It also avoids the problem of not being able to put your boots or your legs properly onto the stand, because with this, it's not connected to anything. I can just lift it up. You can see the feet right there. You can just slide the feet on, prop it up against the wall. So easy solution for that problem. Okay, all right, you're gonna play that game? Come on, we're filming. Another really important thing I learned is make sure you pad your armor stand. You can see right here, like right here, these areas, for example, go pick up some upholstery foam. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. It's somewhere in the middle. Joann's, Michael's, places like that. I'm sure they have upholstery foam. Doesn't matter what color, because you're not going to see it. But you just take that and you duct tape it to your mannequin. And so basically what this does is it prevents the armor pieces from moving around on the stand. Padding is super important. That's also why this padding is here. You also see it on this stand as well. If I take the hood off, that looks really scary. It's a tiny little padding piece, but it helps hold the helmet in place. So whatever helmet you're putting on, you want to have that padding in there. Keeps it snug, or at least in one spot. What I used to do was have one of those PVC caps on the top, but it became a balancing act, so the foam kind of just gives it that extra like holding. Another thing you're going to want when you're doing this is a PVC cutter. I've seen tutorials where people take like a hacksaw and they're like hacking away at the PVC. Don't do that. This is all you need, and I can even show you really quick. You know, this is 3/4 pipe right here. Just pop it in. Makes this whole process so much easier. So ditch the hacksaw, get a PVC cutter. I think they're decently cheap at Home Depot. I'll have links in the bio for everything that I talk about. Another thing you can consider doing is attaching like straps, buckles, magnets to your stand. What I mean by that is if you've seen videos like Kamui Cosplay, I believe does this, but she'll attach strapping to the actual mannequin itself, and then strapping inside of the cosplay that she's putting on the stand. That way you can just, you know, directly buckle it into the stand itself. I personally don't do that just because I know I wear this stuff a lot, and I also get confused, and my handlers get confused when they're suiting me up, when there's like lots of different buckles and magnets and connection points. So I usually just keep it as just a blank naked stand, you know, with just the padding. And it does a fine job. As you can see here, there's like no additional strapping here. It's just the padding in the stand. It's basically the same thing. Another thing is making sure you line up your shoulders correctly. It's basically the same thing as positioning the hip piece. Once you have that done, I pretty much build a stand ground up, like I said. So I'll put on the legs and the hips, and then align everything else based on where that lands. So what I mean by that is I'll usually cut the PVC pipes longer, or like in this case taller than they should be, just because if for whatever reason you cut it too short, you can't really do much about it except for duct tape it together, which does not work. And I will tell you that because I tried to duct tape a pipe that was going to hold the helmet on, and I tried to duct tape it, and I woke up and I came down here one day and the helmet was just on the floor. So the duct tape doesn't hold it together, and this is like high strength, heavy duty duct tape, and it didn't hold it. So you'll want to make sure you give yourself working room in case you make a mistake. In this case, this is a good example of that. These pipes are a little longer than I'd like. This torso is a bit taller than it actually is, the suit is. So I'll be cutting that down eventually, but for right now, since I haven't had the chance to finish printing everything else, I'm gonna leave it this way just in case this actually ends up working out for me. So it's just planning, figuring out how the suit fits you first. I recommend you make the stand after you print everything, which is like not following my own rule, but it's easier that way because you know how everything fits and it's supposed to sit like on itself, or, you know, on your body. You're basically replicating your body with this stand. Now, I would recommend some sort of padding for the pipe that you're gonna be pressing against the wall, especially if your piece is heavy. You don't really want it to ding up your wall unless you don't care, then like don't pad it. But MakerPipe actually does come with these little rubber tips. So that's what's on the feet and the back piece that touches the wall. And then for this stand, I'm just gonna use upholstery foam, because why not? It's fairly simple, it's fairly cheap and affordable. Took me about an hour to build mine. I get distracted very easily though, so take that with a grain of salt. They're quick to build, especially if you know what you're doing. You know your suit measurements, you know you have your suit with you, so you can put things on while you're building it to make sure they fit properly. Should be a piece of cake for you. Let me know if this was helpful. If you have questions, like drop a comment, maybe give me a like, maybe subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.